Hi everyone, yesterday, Wednesday, October the 7th, the budget was announced in Ireland, and a big part of the budget went unnoticed by the Irish media establishment. Now, this isn't really surprising because we all know the media have been completely complicit in what's taken place in Irish society, and this involves the EU Migration and Asylum Pact and relates to the Department of Justice, Home Affairs and Migration's budget of over €6.17 billion. Now, this involves the payments towards the Gardaí, prisons, the courts, immigration, including salaries and expenditure on those parts of the Justice and Home Affairs and Migration portfolio that's handled by Jim O'Callaghan, the Minister. Of course, O'Callaghan is always talking about value for money and efficiency. Isn't that important? Now, the latest revelations are startling because at least €5 billion will be spent next year towards the immigration system, and there is a €1.6 billion contingency fund in response to challenges posed by a range of new and existing policy initiatives alongside operational matters. So we've already €1.8 billion allocated towards the beneficiaries of temporary protection directive from the European Union, of course, through Ukrainians, and the international protection system as well. So €1.8 billion is allocated towards that, and this contingency fund is €1.6 billion, and as I said, it's about new and existing policy initiatives. And we all know about the multimillionaires who've made massive fortunes from this, and the last week we've seen the Comptroller and Auditor General report on the antics of many of these contracts, the way they are awarded without any proper oversight or due diligence. And of course, part of the new policy initiative is the European Union Migration and Asylum Pact. Now, the Department of Justice a number of months ago implemented this national implementation plan about having two parallel legal systems at the same time while they move across to this Asylum Pact again, which is just ceding more of our sovereignty across to bureaucrats and technocrats in Brussels. Now, of course, as I said, O'Callaghan has said there's a focus on value for money and efficiency and all this type of nonsense that he's trying to spin. And at the same time, the push is towards the modernisation and digital transformation of this system. Now, it's not just this system, it's a move towards digital identification. And this comes through the Programme for Government, which was dated the 23rd of January in 2025, called Securing Ireland's Future. This was 162 pages and involved the move towards the facial recognition technology and master surveillance across society as well, which is mentioned, just a blueprint WEF document transposed into the Programme for Government. And part of this digital transformation will include visa processing, case management services and systems, and investment in digital reform. Now, this is very, very interesting because now you look at the EU Migration and Asylum Pact and it talks about stronger border security, looking at national migration and integration strategies, and of course around work permit systems and visa systems in the context of so-called skill shortages. Now, this is just creating the infrastructure for the European Union border, for digital surveillance, will have major impacts in terms of biometric ID systems, and of course the big tech companies are making their money behind it and in terms of controlling it. Now, of course, this will have major impacts for people, for instance, in Irish society. It'll have impacts for people coming into Europe, it'll have impacts for people to be identified within those countries as well who are already across Europe. And this comes at the same time, if you look at the bigger picture, what's happening in Britain, where Starmer announced in the last week that he wanted a digital identification system to deal with the immigration chaos. Isn't this interesting? Let's deal with the immigration chaos, all perpetuated by the political classes at the behest of their globalist masters, and now being implemented across the European Union under the guise of the EU Migration and Asylum Pact. Now, this is going to happen over the next year. We'll see the move towards this EU Migration Pact. There is pushback across many countries across Europe around this, but it's important to know really what's taking place in society. Apart from the monumental waste of money The move across the two parallel legal systems having side by side just shows you that this contingency fund of €1.6 billion, while people are struggling with day-to-day basic services being cut, cost of living disaster. Yesterday's budget was completely against working class people, and always a big bailout towards the very wealthy in Irish society. Now, at the same time, they're trying to clamp down on people's rights. And this is what the plan is in terms of digital identification. In terms of, they'll deal with the crisis, they'll say we'll know who's coming in, and we'll do it through Fortress Europe, and we'll do it through the bureaucrats in Brussels dictating policies. So we have no control over our borders, no control over our monetary policy, no control over our fiscal policy, no control over our currency. But this is the Ireland that the political elites in Ireland work towards, have no interest in serving, rather than representing the people of Ireland. But this is all in black and white. It's in yesterday's budget. There's over 200 million has been allocated to this information and communication technology systems over the next period of time, next 6 to 7 months. And then on top of that, we see the move towards AI as well, through AI Acts as well. And this is part of what's taking place in society towards digital identification. And of course, we see Pascal Dunn himself trying to push through the digital currency. Without this, they cannot push through the digital currency. So it's important now to be awake to what's taking place in society and not be distracted by some of the other shenanigans going on in Irish political life to distract so many people about the real issues, to what's really taking place right in front of our eyes, all there in black and white in the programme for government, in the budget yesterday. And it's all there for everybody to see and have a look at, to what's really taking place in Irish society and people to be aware of. So please share my videos, please subscribe, and thanks so much for everybody who continues to support my videos in any way, shape or form. Very grateful for all your support. Slán go fóill. Take care. Bye bye.